Well, I was given the task of filming snag ears today, and ideally you want to show them in use. And I've had a few bites today. This is actually fish number 4, and I finally got that dream bite I was after. I'm fishing tight to some snags today, so I'm fishing locked up. Strong bank sticks, I've got strong butt rests, and snag ears in case it pulls around so much that the alarm can't hold on to the rod enough. That's exactly what this one gave me. So you're one thing, you're beautiful, and also you gave me the perfect shot I needed for this video, and you're done for the camera, aren't you? Let's get into the video. So with that fish slipped back, it's time to talk about these products that I've got with me today from Solar. But before we jump into that, do make sure you're subscribed to us and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads when they go up. And also follow us on all the different social media platforms coming up on the bottom of your screen right now so you don't miss regular daily updates. Now, I was sent 2 rather small items from Solar for this week's video, or this month's video, and I was trying to think, how am I going to make a full video out of that? So I thought, well, bites. Everyone loves bites. So as you saw, that first one from the opening sequence was the best one of the 4 I've had so far today. So that really utilised the snag ear and showed perfectly exactly why I'm talking about them today and why snag ears are quite beneficial, or pretty important actually when fishing tight to snags and things. But as you all love bites, here are the other ones I did have and the fish that I had as a result of those. Would have been a shame to film them and not actually show them, wouldn't it? So the snag ears are the P1 adjustable. Now these are completely stainless steel, as you'd expect, made in England, again as you'd expect from Solar. So you know that the build quality is going to be there and the quality of materials is also there. But that's not where it ends. These are fully universal. The way that they actually fit onto your buzz bars or pod or whatever you're using is again universal, so you can have any sort of alarm, any sort of pod or anything, and it should work with it. You put your alarm straight through the middle of the main bracket, and then you just screw your alarm down nice and tight. Now this is the P1 adjustable stainless set I've got with me, so I can make things really nice and snug because they've got little sort of nuts that on the actually built in that you can slide back up to butt up against your alarm, make everything nice and snug so it doesn't move. So everything on this setup is absolutely solid. And then with the back section, it's a adjustable T section. So what this means is at the very back, what the snag ears actually go into can slide forward and back once you loosen off the hex screw. Now the Allen key or hex key is supplied with this, as you'd expect with a lot of the Solar things, which similarly to the butt rest that I've got, again, this I'll go on to them in a second, are very, very helpful with fishing, snag fishing. It comes with an Allen key or hex key, which is so you can loosen off that T section, slide it back or slide it forward, and this is so that you can fit them to a variety of different depth bite alarms. Now the ones I've got with me today are fairly chunky. Some bite alarms are slimline, some are even bigger than this. So the fact that you can adjust that means that it doesn't matter if you've got a fat alarm or a thin alarm, you should be able to make them fit yours by adjusting that T section. How I set it up is I loosen them off ever so slightly, then I put the snag ears in, again using a hex key. You've got the little adjustments on each side. Each snag ear is individually sort of adjustable. You don't have to have them in if you don't need to use them. You can put them both in if you're being tarty like this, and because you've been sent them all anyway, and it looks all symmetrical. If you're like me, things need to sort of line up. Bit of an OCD, but not everyone has that issue either. But once you've then put them in, you tighten up the Allen key and that snugs it into place. The actual snag ears themselves have these lovely little milled out recesses for that hex key or hex bolt to go into. So once you've got it set to your exact height, there's no way of that being knocked down or knocked up, because it's buttoned up against a bolt basically, and it's just snugs it in, make sure that you're always going to be at that perfect height. So now I've set these at the same height, I know that they are absolutely perfect, again kicking into your OCD level. But if you're going for something that's going to cost a bit more, because these cost £50.99 from the Solar website for each individual snag ear, it is a bit more pricey. But you want something that's going to be a bit more tarty, because the odds are if you're going for something like this, you're not just getting it for the functionality, you're getting it because it looks nice, you know it's going to last a long time, and it just, yeah, everything works really nicely. It always has done with solar, and that'll following on from the other things I'm using as well. The actual snag ears themselves are really nice and slimline until you get to the very top, and they just taper out ever so slightly. And the idea of that is that if it was just completely straight up and you had a really savage take and your pod started to lean over, there's a chance that your rod could hit against that, slide up, and then ping off. As you can see from some of the shots I got earlier, that shouldn't happen unless the ground gives way, basically, because the rod will hit that sort of tapered section, and unless you're fishing upwards, which I don't think is possible, the rod's going to be getting pulled left and slightly down. So even if that starts to lean, you shouldn't have any issues with that pinging off the top of that snag ear, because it hits that little curve, it holds the rod in position. And you've seen this as a key point earlier, is that the fish I had earlier, although the bite line will do the snag ear's job to an extent, there's every now and then it will ping off. I had a bite the other week on a session where it was in the middle of the night. I was fishing down the margin, not a terribly tight clutch, so it should have been able to take line, but the tight bite was that savage that by the time I got out of my bed chair into the rod, all that was holding on was the butt rest. The rod was like this, taking line. It just skipped off the alarm, and it only had a few beeps. So if I didn't quite wake up and didn't know what was going on, I may have actually just thought, I don't know what that was, and gone back to sleep. Very unlikely, I know, but the rod had pinged off the alarm. So not all alarms will hold the rod as snug as you like, whether they have inserts, slight snag ears themselves. If you just have something like a snag ear that's a dedicated snag ear, and these can go up a lot higher, it gives you that little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Reassurance that your rod isn't going to go anywhere if you do have the most savage of savage takes. Moving on to the front, you've also got a little screw thread, which is a 2BA, I think it's called. So this will fit perfectly with all existing solar bankware, hangers and swingers and things, but it should also fit with most different manufacturers in the industry as well. Check that before you buy them. But these bobbins fit perfectly into these little hockey stick setups, so it's all nicely ties in. You don't have to have a separate hockey stick for your hanger and then a separate one for the snag ears. It's all universal, one solid little setup, and that means that everything's more buttoned down and tight as well. There's not like a layer upon layer of things that you've got to screw in through your bite line, which is going to weaken things and just look a bit clunky as well. So that's really nice that it comes with that. And there's actually two different threads in there, so if I take one of the hangers off, this is the size thread I'm talking about, so a 2BA I believe it is, so it's quite a small one. But then on the inside you can also take this thread off. So if you've got a chunkier setup, or chunkier bobbins or whatever, I'm not sure what the exact thread size of this is, but slightly bigger, so there should be two different options of hangers and bobbins that you can slot in there. Now I'm trying to screw this in rather cack-handedly. There we go. Screw that back in, and as I said, here's just one of the existing indicators from solar. It goes straight into the bottom of that. Got to make it a right pig's ear of this. Everything's so fine-tuned that unless you get it in perfect, it won't go. There we go. So that is the snag ears pretty much covered. Nice and tidy. I think they look smart. I've been doing quite a few videos on snag ears lately, and I'm starting to think they look quite cool as well, even if they're not always doing something. But when you come for a session like this, where I'm deliberately fishing down a margin, which I know can do bites, and an opposite snag, again, has been doing the bites today, having these is just that little bit of added reassurance that you're not going to lose your rod. And now I did say there was one other thing that I was going to, well, actually before I move on to the other little addition they sent me today, when talking about fishing locked up, obviously you've got to have your clutch tight, you want to have something that's going to stop your rod from pinging off, but you also need a really strong butt rest. Now this wasn't meant to be part of the video, but these butt rests I've been using for years now, and I'm yet to find another butt rest that's as universal as these and as grippy as these, because these can be adjusted to different thicknesses. As you can see, I'm using cork handle rods at the moment. I could widen them if I had a thicker blank, or I can shrink them down if I had a smaller butt section, because there's an Allen key underneath. And that rubber against the cork is so grippy. You don't need anything that sort of clamps onto the rod. It's unbelievably grippy. So that's really worth noting. If you're going for a locked up setup, do not overlook the butt rests. You can use pegs and things to hold your reel in place, but a decent butt rest is pretty much all you're going to need. So really, really highly recommend the P1 butt rests as well. But this video wasn't about those. The last thing is the ball clips, the hanger up ball clips. Now these are just little things that screw into the top of the existing solar indicators, whether you've got past ones, current ones, or ones in the future. These will fit with any. I think again it's 2BA thread, so if you take out the plastic ones that came with this originally, Screw these in. Now this isn't a new design, it's something that's been around for about 30 years, I think it is. It works on a friction-free setup, and it works with all different types of lines, whether it's mono, fluoro or braid. It's just a friction to actually pop the line in, but once it's in, I'll just turn this alarm off ever so quickly. Oh, I'll turn it on, I'll turn it back off. As you can see, there's just very little friction, if any. There's obviously it's going to be ever so slightly some, because you can't have something that has absolutely no friction, but it's supposed to be friction free, and as you can see, that slides up and down nice and easily, and also it's just got a complete floppy head. There's no other way of talking about it really. It's a really supple hinge on the top, so those actual light ball clips can flop either side, so it's really loose. Any kind of indication that the ball clips can flop around really nice and easily. Yes, it's blingy. Yes, it's maybe not completely necessary for some of you, but if you like to look tarty, and if you've already got set up like this, then why wouldn't you just pay an extra $10.99 for the ball clips going to the top? You know they're going to last as well. It's not like if you drop your bobbin on the floor and get trodden into the mud, anything's going to break. If you can break stainless steel, I'll be very impressed. So that is the hangable line clips. The two little items from Solar. I think I've managed to make this quite a lengthy waffle on, but it's been enjoyable today, getting some fish on the bank and being able to actually use these, because I was very much panicking that I was going to have to fake a take, and I didn't have to, because this spot across to the far bush has come up trumps once again for me. So if you want some more information on either of these items or the rest of the P1 setup you can see with me today and other items from Solar, do head over to their website and check them out, and maybe take a look at these if you're really interested. But that is everything for me today, so please like the video if you did, subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you in the next one. Hopefully one more before I go as well. That'd be lovely, wouldn't it?